let's say it's a new patient, okay? When a patient comes, the first thing what we do is we ask if he feels pain, okay? If there is somewhere that he feels pain. So if somebody can translate for me. Who translates? Nie? No, no? Tout va bien? Okay. Then if he doesn't feel any pain, what we do then is we see if there are some contractures. So first we check the feet, okay? And when you check something, it's very important that you always compare one side with the other side. So always try to work symmetrically. As when you are listening with a stethoscope, the lungs, you always go from right to left and then from right to left. The same for orthopedic, okay? So first, here, and then we see, okay, there is a retract, there is a contracture of the ankles, I would say, plus, d'avoir +5. I think there is -5 or something, -5 to 10 contract. It was the operator.
At what age?
4 years ago. Then let's see the other foot. Here you see you have also the foot is going a little bit in supination. Up. But even if this one was not this was not broken, right? No. Even with this one we have a contracture. Okay, so you check.
This wasn't operated.
This wasn't. Yes, that's what I was saying. So we have both feet have contracture. So the first question is, do you wear splint during the night? Never?
Don't use and don't have?
No. Okay. So we would say then first, we would suggest probably to try to wear some splints during the night. Because there is a loss, but maybe it would be great to try to keep, even if there is some loss, try to keep this position as long as possible. Okay, so we would say, okay, maybe splints during the night would be a great thing. And as he's in wheelchair, maybe we could also find some splints for during the day. So you know these afus. All the day, yeah. But especially the night. Sometimes some patients said, okay, now I have this during the night. I don't want it also during the day because I cannot wear the shoes I want, and I want cool Adidas or cool Nike shoes, and I cannot wear this with my afus. And so you have, as I said, you have to find a good middle between everything. And of course, the night would be the most important right now here. Okay? So, next one, the knees. You go to the extension, okay? And here you say, okay, there is also a contracture. On the other leg, there is also a contracture. Yep. Everything okay? Yeah. Okay. So, what we would ask here is, okay, I think it's also, of course, the natural course of the disease with contracture, okay? It's not because you are stretching and you have splints during the hours that with the time the contractures won't come. It's normal that also contractures are coming. It's not because the care was not good or the parents didn't do it correctly. No, it's also the natural course of the disease. Okay, so it's not, it's normal. So what for the knees, what we would say is try to stretch it as much as possible. Because as I said, for example, for the verticalizator, with two big knees contracture, it's very difficult to get in this verticalizator. You see, so we would suggest try to stretch a little bit more, okay? There are also some other some kind of splints. I don't know how to say this in English, I'm sorry. They are called cruropedius. It's going, you know, from here to the hips to the ankles. Because this keeps then your knee as extended as possible, and also for the ankle. It depends. a lot of children don't like them because they cannot move in the bed, and it's a lot of instrumentation. Also, the symmetry of the scapulas, also a good indicator. Relax. Relax. So here we see there is a slight scoliosis going to the left. You see? When you have here, you go tack, 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 tack. See? It goes slightly to this side. You have this hemithorax going a little bit up to this side. It's very slight. So at the moment there is nothing to do, but we have to keep an eye on it. And, Now I don't have all the devices. What we also would do is to see the respiratory, the forced vital capacity with a spirometer. And if, for example, we have patients coming up for consultation, and then we also take a look if there would be includable in some clinical trials. So we then also do at this time the test for the inclusion criteria. Yes.
Maybe we can verify the cough capacity.
Oui, ça je peux first. What we can do is then to also, if for example you don't have a spirometer, okay, you don't have all this equipment, you can ask him, for example, here to cough. You know what I do sometimes, for example, when I have to compare something, is I do it myself, and then I try to compare it then with the patient. You see, so what you do is try to cough, you know, like this. Great. But you also can have a look then on his abs. You know, if the abs are correctly working, you will see that the abs will go inside. Okay. So once again, you see the abs are going inside, so they're still working. It's also a good indicator.
Again, please. I didn't see that.
Ah, sorry. Okay. Can you do it once again? You see, this is also how to have a. It's a vision. It's of course it's better to have a spirometer and to have a PC where you can see all the values and. Okay. For coughing, what you can do. You remember to cough. To have a good effective cough, you need first a big inspiration. Okay, so you ask your patient. If he's still able to breathe in the vent, you ask him to do a deep inspiration, and then you ask him to block, and then you will say, okay, you have now to cough or to exhale as strong as possible. And as the abs are doing the strong expiration, because to do a strong expiration you need the abs, what you can do with your hand is that you have the abs to do this maneuver. Okay? So what you can do, you take a deep inspiration, and cough. Yeah, sorry. Okay, let's go. Come on. Voilà, super. You see? The thing is that you. Voilà. The thing is that with your hand, you help the diaphragm, to go up. Okay?
And this exercise is for every day.
You can do this when for example, you don't have a cough assist. Yeah, you don't have. It's the same like when you don't have this Alpha 300, you do this with this ambu. If you don't have a cough assist, of course, as physiotherapist, you can use your hands. Okay? The hands are always good. It's just for patients with neuromuscular diseases. It's more effective to have machine and hands. Machine only? No, it's not good. What's the best is to have machine and PT hands. Okay, so this is actually when you see your child or your patient has difficulties to clear his throat. You can help him with the hands on his stomach to push, the diaphragm to the upper part of the body. Because then you block. Okay? Are there other questions for you? Okay?
And exercises, range or course or
and I would say like I said, the most important are like endurance. So for him, I would say, you have this kind of bikes for hands, for example, this could be a good thing, because he has still a good upper limb function, so try to work this upper limb function as best as possible with balloons, try to go up and down, against the wall, or you play with him some games, where he has to take some things up, some fine motricity. What we can do, okay, he's a guy, what we can do with a guy is, for example, ping pong, or you play some, but most of the guys from his age are, on Game Boy and hand. Yes, but it's also fine motricity, so it's also a kind of work, so it's a good thing. What you can do, so it's the stretching, of the lower limbs. So you try to stretch as best as possible. You can do actually everything together with the whole leg.
And the stretching for how long? Seconds.
What we already said is that you try to have one position. You try to keep this position for 10 seconds, and then you release. Okay. And it depends. Sometimes you will see the child it will be easy. You will be able to go a little bit further. And sometimes, like you have good and bad days, it will not be possible to be further. Then it's okay. It's okay. Tomorrow it will be better. Okay, you just do what you can. And what we then often say is that you do 5 to 10 times, these 10 seconds every day. Because what we would like is that it's effective, that it doesn't take too much time, because they are still kids and they still want to play and they still want to have a freedom time. So you have to focus on the very important things. Okay, so what we say is 5 to 10 times 10 seconds. I don't know I think it's more an exchange. Now what you learn here. We say this, I don't know if you have another... No?
I do 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
30 seconds.
It's my patient's very good.
Yeah, sometimes, it's like you see this with, sometimes you will see, okay, we can do longer, and sometimes, no, I don't want, and they're too young, and so it's difficult then to do this. You do what you can. It's good to have an idea in your head, and then you adapt it to everyone. This is how we proceed.
Do you have any recommendations for parents? Because sometimes they complain of the pain in the wrists because it's not very comfortable for parents to do these stretching exercises.
Of course. What I can suggest, for example, for the ankles, okay? You have, as parents, it's important that it's not your arm is, for example, doing the exercise, that you use your body weight to do this exercise. So it's actually, these are the basis what we learn as physiotherapists at school. First year is you don't do the exercise, you use your body weight to do this exercise. So it's like a transfer from one leg to the other leg. Okay, so for example, you have here. So first of all, for example, this is far way too low for me. Okay, I'm 1.80 meters. I should have, the table like here, where I could be at 90 like this. So this is not a good position. So I have to go down, which is still not that good. And and you try when you have to when you stretch, for example, the ankle. It's very important that you take. I don't know if everybody sees. You take the calcaneum. Okay? If you do this, it's not good, because then it will, you see, it will, I don't know how to call it, it will, je sais pas comment on dit ça, ça va, Enfin bref. It's not good, okay? What's important is first you take the calcaneum, you stretch it, and then you bring it like this. Okay, so it's the movement is like you take the calcaneum, you bring it there, and then you bring the foot like this. You see what I mean? Because if you don't do this, you will have the calcaneum who will be smashed against the tibia. It's not that good. The articulation here, it's not good for it. So first, you do a décoaptation, I don't know if it's right, a décoaptation, and then you bring. And so you see, it's not my arm who is doing the movement, it's actually, it's my whole body which is doing the movement. Okay?
And in case, in this case, do you think stretching is enough for knee contractures, or does he already need surgery from your experience?
Surgery. That's a much better.
It depends because, for example, when the patient's lost ambulation, it's important to become the verticalization as early as possible, because the contracture is also due to the fact that the verticalization is not start when the patient's lost ambulation. Maybe the surgeon in this case is indicated to start the verticalization, okay? Because starting with the verticalization we can prevent the osteoporosis. So the only case when we advise the surgery is just to start the verticalization in these patients, for the knee and also for the ankle, because with this angle of range, with this range of contracture, it's difficult to make a verticalization in justice. So
you would recommend surgery for the knees
and also for the ankle,
for the
yeah.
ankle and
To me, yeah, and
And the back is quite good. That yeah, the back there is no pronounced deviation.
Sometimes he breathes like, yeah, mom. And all oximetric parameters are normal.
And all oxygen.
Yes, but our orthopedic says that from the back sometimes he breathes like I showed.
Sometimes, yes, this is because you know he has induction. As I said, you have the volume is reducing because of the weakness of inspiratory muscles and expiratory muscles. You have the quantity of air which is coming into your lungs is decreases. Okay, so they are actually breathing on their residual volume. Okay, on the residual volume. And so sometimes, you know, you have too much, you have not enough air inside your lungs, so that's when so you know, because normally they should do this all the time, but it's too complicated. So I would maybe probably ask, does he have a ventilation during the night? I would maybe ask, you know, have a talk with the pneumologist and maybe do some more investigations to see how is his
normal ventilation is now
polysomnography is performed. So everything was good during the night and everything okay?
For him, I think that the best indication is alpha 300.
You know this machine which is there, like the ammo, but just the machine.
Only ammo.
Mm-hmm. Because you see his thorax, it became rigid. You know, it's not bumped here. It becomes more flat here. So his thorax is losing in elasticity. So the thing would be, and so as the thorax is losing elasticity, it adds to the weakness of inspiratory muscles. It's then very complicated to have a normal volume of air, to bring a normal volume of air inside your lungs. And so that's the reason why it would be great to work this.
And one question about active exercises. I usually think that maybe we don't need to encourage them to move as much as possible, or maybe in contrast we should them
You should.
move only that they need.
Yes. No.
Because they have primary problem of muscles. So if they move with bicycles or a lot of exercises, they decrease.
What's not good for muscles, for DMD, what's not good is eccentric work. So for example, is when you have for the biceps, okay, you have, this is concentric work, is when the weight is, when your strength is stronger than the weight, for example. So you are able to do this work very easy. Eccentric work is like, for example, squat. So the weight is, it's more, it's difficult to explain this. So, or for example, with the, let's keep with the biceps. You have a weight, and the weight is so heavy that it's impossible for you to bring the weight, you know, to work with the, and so the biceps here is working in eccentric. And this kind of work is not good, because this is, increases the muscle destruction. But everything between isometric, concentric, endurance, it's okay. This is okay. You have to ask. You have to ask them to move as light as possible. Of course, always pain. You know, limit of pain and what they can do. And of course, they have to find what kind of movements they are able to do and what kind of movements are maybe too fatigable for them. So, but to tell them, just move, just what you need. No. Because too much immobilization. As I said, you need a good balance between mobilization and immobilization. If you have too much immobilization, you can have more deformities also, you know, due to immobilization. So you have to find a good balance between. And you can do, but eccentric, no way, no eccentric. That's the reason why we always say swimming and balneotherapy are actually the best way to do some active work, because it's against, you have no gravity, it's against gravity, there's no gravity, and with the warm water it's nice for them, they don't feel their weight, they can move freely. Action. So what we try, for example, when we have a first-time patient, the first consultation, is that we try, as with the therapist and with the child neurologist, we try to work together. We try to see the patient together, actually as we are doing right now. So first the doctor, the child neurologist is asking all the questions, the medical side, and then we examine actually the patient together. So we see the contractures together, and so we don't need to do everything 2 times, and then it's also more exchange, and then it's much more effective.
Goes to school?
Teachers come.
Okay.
You can do like this. Like this.
Can you show me what you can do with your arms?
See here
perform the X-ray.
But you see, it's quite pronounced now. When you have here, you see the scoliosis going to the left side. There's a radiosity going on this side. No, okay. And for example, you see, you can also have a good indicator. This here, the not the hips, but the waist. You can see the waist. You see, you have on one side the waist is much more like this, and the other. This can also for slight scoliosis. Sometimes just have a look on this. On the waist, and you can see also if there is a scoliosis. Here it's obviously, okay, we don't even need to have a look on the waist, okay? And for example, when Teresa was performing this, but you see the flexion, you see, it was very painful for him. So maybe we can check if if there's maybe some retraction on the scapula. Sometimes the scapula is against the costal, and sometimes there's also some fibrosis there, which avoids the correct movement of the scapula. Okay. She would call him Paolo, Italian. Okay, we can check now. As we said, we go from start with the feet. We see the feet are quite strong, have a quite strong contracture in supination. Okay, so the man, pain? Do you do some physiotherapy, mobilizations of the articulations and so on? Are you pain?
Have you pain or when I touch here? And here? Yes? Here?
Non, c'est juste les pieds en fait.
Here? You pain? I'm searching for indirect signs of osteoporosis because maybe.
C'est là, c'est ici, here, pain here. Parce que par contre, quand je les fléchis, tu vois, et ça fait mal. Ouais, c'est la rétraction. So he has quite severe contracture on the feet. Huh? So what I would suggest is for a patient like him, is try to start again the stretching, but slight, because he is very painful. And first, before you stretch, maybe try to warm up the articulation. For example, you do some mobilization. You see, you can do some rotation. It's try to warming up actually the articulation as he is very painful. You see, but if you on a cold muscle, if you do stretching, and his muscles are not used to this, it will be very painful. So first of all, try to warm up a little bit. Okay? Do the same as the feet. Et ici, on dirait que tu parlais aussi de chirurgie ici, de toute façon. Puis il a une hypertubulation aussi. Il transpire fort. Ouais, je So moi je trouve qu'il does he has a nocturnal ventilation? Okay. Do you have do you know his weight? Does he lose weight very quick? No, just
The appetite is good or?
10 kilos per 2 years.
Wait,
On.
10 kilos on.
Yeah. 2 years.
For 2 years.
And what about polysomnography?
Does he have the consequence?
Very recently, so we don't have the results.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it was too quick. It
But
was
the
information,
study is
yes.
candidated for nocturnal ventilation.
Yeah.
Because it's important to perform the arthrodesis for the scoliosis. This is very important.
Yes. And so when you know that you will have a surgery of arthrodesis, you try to install the ventilation before. You see, to try to first so that he's used to it, but second also it helps to keep it more elastic, you know, for the surgery. But you also look, for example, if the alpha 300, when we know okay, this patient will have a arthrodesis, 6 months before, 1 year before, we introduce the alpha 300 in order to keep the whole thorax, you know, as flexible as possible, so that it's easier also for the surgeon to make this leg as upright as possible. See? Because with the scoliosis like he has now, you can imagine that the ventilation, breathing for him is very complicated.
And he takes also calcium vitamin every day. And did you perform a DEXA scan?
It was yesterday in the afternoon, so I don't know.
Okay. In this case, I would suggest to perform maybe every 3 months a cure by alendronate. Okay.
For sleeping, how do you install him? Does he have some cushions under? You know? Yeah. So because when when he has like this pronounced also, you know, the scoliosis, you know, his back, I see it looks like. When you lie him down in his bed for sleeping, try, you know, to readjust, because he was like this. Try really to adjust, and then what I would suggest is then to have curtains here, percussions here, and of course between the legs. He's sleeping on his back, I suggest.
On the side.
On the side. Okay, that's the reason why he probably has also the feet like this, because you know when he's on the side. Can we go? You know, for example, when he's sleeping on his side, if you don't put something between the feet, you know, you will have the feet going like this. You see, and so that's the reason why, and that's what he has. That's the reason why it's very important when you lay a patient on the side that you put something between both feet in order to keep also the feet parallel to the segment of the leg. Because if you don't do this, you will have the feet going like this in a supination position. You see? Can you help me just to lie? We just put you on the side. Voilà. Okay. You see? This is exactly what I mean. When he's lying down like this, you have his foot, the deformity is going like this. If, for example, you put his leg like this. First, it will be much more comfortable for him because he doesn't have his skin, one leg to the other. Because if he's sweating, we know this, it's very not comfortable. So you put first something like here, and you take as control. You take the parallel of the hip. This is not good. Okay, this is also not good. This is good. Okay. And then don't forget the feet, because what we often see is that you have a cushion here, and then it ends here. Okay, and then you have the foot going like this. Don't forget the foot. Okay, this would be, this would be a good position for yourself. Okay. And he's always sleeping on the same side? During the night you stand up. During the night you stand up and then you change the side. Okay. Then also don't forget when you change the side, don't forget the cushions. Yes, and I would then suggest pour la chirurgie. Tu veux dire quelque chose pour les enfants?
D'abord la scoliosis.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Before scoliosis, and after we can maybe talk about surgery of the knee and knee.
Maintenant, je sais. Because now like this, you cannot. It's not possible to put him in. Oh, ça va en fait, il n'est pas si contracté au niveau du cheveu. Ça va? Ça va. Son genou, il n'est pas si c'est son pied qui est surtout là. For example, here, his knee is quite good actually. If you would like to verticalize him, it would be very good. The problem are his feet. You see? So this is actually his feet. You cannot put somebody in a verticalization with a foot like this. So then this would be very complicated, and it would be also very painful for him. Imagine you on the feet like this. It's not possible, huh? So because the aim is also so that the feet support also the weight, even with some help. The aim in a verticalization is that your body weight exerts some pressure on your bones in order to avoiding the osteoporosis and everything what we said before. So yeah. So first the back. This is the most important thing, because this would be then. I'm sure he would need arthrodesis, and then for this, I'm sure he will need some ventilation. Yeah. And when you have to choose, between like for example, a surgery between the legs or the back, of course, do you take the back? If you have to do one thing before another, you take, of course, the back, because the back includes also the lungs, and the lungs, we say respiratory. And respiratory is much more important than, for example, the feet, if you have to choose. Okay? So now first step, of course, is to do, do you have the X-ray? Yes. So to wait then the results. It will be a surgery. For this, you will have to install also some respiratory, some ventilation. And afterwards, you will have to check the rest. But this is, of course, the first priority, because he has a really pronounced scoliosis, so it's important to check this. And he has physiotherapy during the week?
Yes, at home, and physiotherapist.
No, but it's what I said, it's also the... Can you show me what you do with your son? So sometimes, when parents are doing exercises at home with their children, it's good to see, it's good to ask them, can you show me what you do? Because maybe sometimes there's just some slight things that could change everything, you know, and then it's good to see how they do it at home, and then you can see. Okay. Everything okay, Paulo?
Maybe fix prolong it, not?
Yeah, I just want to see first what she does, and then I'm okay. It's painful here. So now he has a huge contracture of his psoas iliac. You see this, and the problem with the psoas iliac. The problem with the psoas iliac is that you have the first part of the psoas is going from the anterior side of the lumbar, goes through your stomach, and then you have the other part who comes to your leg. And so these muscles, when you have a huge contracture, this makes you a hyperlordosis and a hip contracture. Yeah, okay. It's good. It's good. There's one thing. Look. Several things. You see? It's good. You work a little bit. So, but this, it's more for me a warming up of the articulation. To me, it's not a stretching. You know what I mean? Okay. So what you need here, it's really, as I said, you take here. You see? You take here. You do a traction to there, up, and then with your forearm. One and two and three and four and five and six and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. You see, I don't do a lot in here, has already pain. So it's really necessary to stretch, to start to stretch again. Okay? Ah, sorry.
She wants to try.
Yes, of course. I'm just looking. I see something. Okay, do. Try. Okay, try to keep. Voila. Try to keep.
Tiesiai laikykit koją, kad kelienis sučiūnų.
Okay? Is it the same? Is it the same as I did?
Double fast.
Ah, sorry. Okay, and then after 10 seconds, break. Then you restart again. And don't hesitate to push. You see, try, don't hesitate. As I said, of course, it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be a torture for you. But if you just if he as he has contracture, I think massage could be comfortable for him. But I think stretching only for yes. But you see also for the also the hips here. That you are, we have a contracture here. What you can do is also this. You see, you flex his leg like this. You take the knee, you block it here, and you push. And now, voila. See, it's already painful. And then you have to keep. Okay. And you do this every time, both sides. Ses genoux sont bons, hein? Franchement, c'est assez. You see, so you could imagine that it's due to his knees that he has this angle, but it's actually his hips.
Hips, yes.
Yeah.
And he has pain in his hips after sitting for a long time.
Yes, it's normal with this kind of scoliosis, huh? It's normal. For him, what would be great is actually stretching everything. You see, starting with the feet, doing the knee, you see, doing the adductors. And I think when I put him on the sides, we will have a big retractor of this, and so also stretching, you know, the leg, to go to the extension. Because the thing is that even if after the arthrodesis, you see, it's not because he has done an arthrodesis that everything is fine again. You see, it's something that you have to do every day, even with the arthrodesis. And how are the fingers? He's on tablet or joystick with himself and computer. Also try to stretch the certain motor, you know, as I said. You see, try to keep this, because his arms are quite good. His arms are, you know, the forearms are quite good. So try to work also what is still good, you know. So but you see it, he's much more, can we just put him on the side? Yes? Yeah? Can we do it on the side? Yeah? Yes, you see, we have a big contracture here. So here you have to stretch it out as well. And what I wanted to see I think the first thing would be the reason why it was so painful for him. And Teresa, his arm, when you check, see, everything okay? When you check, he has absolutely no, his scapula is absolutely not coming up. So you see his scapula is here. Normally you should be able to put your fingers on the scapula. And so this, what you can do is try to make some slight mobilization. You see, try to really because normally you should be able to right, because as the scapula is not rotating anymore correctly. Primary back and single scapula. And stretching. Very important. And splints during the night? Two, 3 hours per day. It's not enough. In the morning you have 7. Because there is also a lot of transpiration. Hypersedation, you know, this is also a sign of difficult to breathe and try to stretch nerve. The feet that I show, try to stretch the heel like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5. When you see, you can go till you do, then you stop. Before it makes no sense. Just when you look up, then you see you're really at the limit. Because then, if you just and then here are the hips. As I showed, the hips will slide and the feet. Okay.